Allow me to drop some da'wah. The da'wah of minding your own business. So this old man scolded and slapped the guy who was eating at a convenience store during Ramadan in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. If you didn't know, it's an offense for Muslims to not fast during Ramadan in Malaysia. But here's the kicker. The young guy is not Muslim. So this old man just took it upon himself to police this guy and ask for his ID to prove that he wasn't Muslim. The guy refused because authorities should be the only ones who can demand for your ID. And then the old man proceeded to slap him. Not once, but several times. So two things may have happened here. Number one, mistaken identity. The old man thought this guy was Muslim and was too excited to exercise his chance to da'wah. Or number two, which is most likely, his iman is too weak. Lemah semangat to the point where he cannot even stand to see other people eat. This is one thing that I disagree with in the Malay Muslim community, which is the oversensitivity of religious feelings. Especially when it involves non-Muslims. Especially when it doesn't even affect us directly. The old man wasn't tricked into eating. No. He just saw someone else eating and he took it upon himself to dish out religious justice. Well, too bad for him because this became a court case and he's being charged. He was also arguing that he slapped him but not hard enough to leave a bruise. It did. And if convicted, he could face a jail term for up to a year or a maximum fine of 2,000 ringgit. Or both. So the moral of the story is, if other people eating during Ramadan is making you lose your patience, you have way bigger problems than your hunger.
An incident of a Malay man slapping a Chinese university student for eating a Family Mart shop during Ramadan. The incident, what we can understand from what has happened is that it was the Malay man who actually told off the Chinese student or Chinese man. Why is he eating during Ramadan and in a place of public of which he and his son was there to buy something, I suppose. The Chinese man said that I am Chinese and then he's not fasting, of course, because he's not a Muslim. But the man insisted on seeing his IC, and therefore the Chinese man said that you cannot ask me that because we cannot be showing our IC to just any person. And I think from then on it got a bit worse, and the Malay man was seen in the video to be slapping the Chinese man or the Chinese university student. This occurred in a Family Mart in Angsana Mall in Johor. Now, some people are saying that the Chinese man is from University Technology Malaysia, and also that the incident was at Angsana Mall. It so happened that I was once a professor at University Technology Malaysia and an academic there for 27 years, and I know Angsana Mall. My children grew up with shopping as well as playing games at the playground on the top floors of that particular mall. In today's video, I am going to explain why I am not surprised at all at such incidents happening to Muslims. We can see there was a series of this, not just about this person slapping a non-Muslim, but we have also seen such terrible situations of an Indian boy walking into the mosque and was beaten by a group of Muslims who just had performed prayers. Then we also have seen or heard or read about the Molotov cocktails during the KK Mart incident, in which fire bombs were thrown at 3 KK Mart shops. There was also some other incidents that I have seen, which I have said many times that this country has a mistrust and a disrespect of each other in terms of race as well as religion. The scarier version is of religion that is not being acknowledged to be at a very extreme end. But recently, after being interviewed for a podcast at University of Malaya by a group of law students, one of the staff who was a Chinese had told me about an incident where a delivery person wanted to deliver something to her, but because it was already past midnight, she was afraid to come out, and she said so. And the Malay delivery boy or man was saying things like, "Oh, you Cina kafir harbi, you Cina yang kotor," and things like that. And I just listened sadly and I said, this is the situation in Malaysia, of which I just finished the podcast when the student asked what is the situation in Malaysia, and I said it is not very good at all and it is going to get worse and worse. In today's video, I would like to explain two things again and again about why I think this has happened. Now, first of all, we look at the example of politician that we have. We have the example of one UMNO politician saying very, very severe things to the incident in the KK Mart. And his actions, the way he speaks, the way he uses words, is actually inviting what we call something like a fight. Of course, he's very brave to do that. He's always saying in front of his Facebook account and not in the community of the non-Muslim. And so this kind of a person is actually looking for a fight, even though he says he's defending Islam. But you do not need to defend Islam. Islam need not be defended in this regard of a simple stalking incident. Simply to ask the question why this is so, and if it was a mistake, then apologize, and we are done. However, it is this same person, this same politician, this same leader who always say, sorry, no cure. And I have even heard an influencer, a social media influencer, who was trying to advise other Muslims, who was saying or writing in their comment section to say that insult to Islam can only be answered by blood. And so this kind of thing is now very ordinary because we have examples of leadership such as that man from UMNO. Next, we have a man from a political party that claims to be Islamic, who says that people with eyes like us and blood like us, meaning he being a Malay, so only Malays are the ones that are loyal to the country. and that only Malays are the ones that can be hoped to defend the country, because he was criticizing some Chinese people waving the flag of China. Now, after the whole situation was explained, that it was not an issue. But again, the manner in which he says, and you can still watch the video, it is again in a fight manner, in a manner of trying to raise a fight. And of course, again, this man from some sort of Islamic party is similar to the one from the Malay party, being very brave and very vocal because he's with his people. Both of these sounds to be like warriors calling for a fight, but they are actually cowards and bullies. But the problem here is that the ordinary Muslim do not understand this. The ordinary Muslim hears the call to fight, hears the call to so-called jihad, hears the call to defend the sanctity of religion and also the motherland. This is why I have said many times, we must learn to accept certain incidences with a pardon and then to move on. Now, with respect to the Era station incident, again, there was a plea for apology, and some people in the Indian race did not accept. It is exactly the same as what the UMNO man has said. Sorry, no cure. So we can see here, this formula in this country is something is very seriously wrong somewhere. And to later on give a datuk sheet to this UMNO man is also something to show that this is the right warrior. And this is the person sacrificing for Islam. And so we are not looking at these kinds of politicians to actually advising them or putting them in their place, but actually emboldening them further and further. Now, the onus must be with the political party itself. Some people say Anwar Ibrahim is not doing this, is not doing that. Anwar cannot do anything if that person is from another political party, even though that political party is part of the government. You cannot mess with another person's family. And so that person's family must take that person to task. So here is a situation where each political party does not take any responsibility and just leave it for people to blame one person like Anwar Ibrahim. Now, if we were to look at another situation like the former Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, always regurgitating or always repeating the idea of non-Malays being not loyal or not fully loyal to the country. Again, this is giving a narrative of saying that the non-Malays or the non-Muslims are not true Malaysians, and therefore they are supposed to be subdued, or they are supposed to be not as same in rank with the Malays. Now, I have met over 300 veterans of the Army, of the Navy, of the Air Force who are Chinese. And these people, men and women in their 80s and even 90s, have contributed and sacrificed and died for their country. Don't Dr. Mahathir to say such thing as disloyalty. He himself has never held a gun. Same thing with Razman with his eyes and his blood. Again, I'm sure never held a gun. So the same goes to that UMNO, so-called Datuk, who's always pointing fingers and warning non-Malays of such things. This is why this is happening, which is there is a total silence from those who are supposed to know about religion. And I mean the muftis. Some muftis are very quick to jump on the unity government on certain laws, such as the Mufti law, are very, very silent. Very silent. I've been trying to see and say, where is this person's statement who's so vocal on so many issues, who allowed Zakir Naik to speak widely against the sentiment of not only Malays but also of Malaysians? But very silent when it comes to KK Mat, very silent when it comes to a boy being beaten, Indian boy being beaten, was mentally disturbed, it so happened, in a mosque. And also, again, I'm sure being very silent in this situation of a Malay man slapping a Chinese man for eating in public. Something which all supposedly Muslims know, that there is no requirement in religion that the Prophet said for us to actually take action against someone eating in front of us. The religion of Islam that I learned is that if you are praying and someone walks in front of you within a handspan, they're not supposed to do that, and you are able to actually pull that person off with your hand. That's the only physical aspect that I understand. With regard to fasting, who asked you to go into Family Mart, which is a restaurant? It's like going into a restaurant and scolding people for eating. You were the one who went into the restaurant. So the best way to avoid temptation is for you to remove yourself. Do not go into the restaurant or wait until after fasting and go into the restaurant. That is a very simple thing. You cannot make as if every land is owned by Muslim. And even though respect or decorum is expected to non-Muslims and also those Muslims who are not fasting to not eat in front, this is not a religious expectation. It is not a religious requirement at all. A lot of religious so-called requirement created by many people, simply culturally and politically motivated and also innovated. It doesn't exist in what the Prophet had practiced, but it exists in a Malay situation or in other countries with a majority Muslim situation. So, with the lack of guidance and also advice, as well as some kind of teguran, or what we say reprimand from religious scholars, and also academics, so-called professors of Islam, so academics who have so-called Islamic credential, what kind of country will we turn into? We allow some social media people to interpret incidences and then create a narrative and a story and then spread it wide, without us actually having the responsibility to stop this narration or this narrative, and also to actually mitigate the situation by our calm, clear, and rational explanation. We are much lacking in this, and it doesn't require us much budget or much effort. What unfortunately has happened is that the Minister of Unity, who is a non-Muslim, having to say such things, and this will, to me, make matters worse. Because people will say, what is non-Muslim? Sibuk je pasal Ramadan. This is the attitude that I get from most Malays anyway. And I understand that Malays and Muslims, they can only be retrained and re-educated only by Muslim cleric and those who they respect, like the so-called political leaders. But unfortunately, we neither have a good political leader that can actually say these things. And even if we have such persons like Anwar Ibrahim, people are not listening to him. Why? Because he's not a religious cleric. And so religious cleric have the potential now to actually change Malaysia from good or from good to worse, or from worse to being good. And this is the situation, and solving it with a police report, again, for me, is totally not the way at all, because such things will further embolden certain narratives to be created about, oh, if it's a Muslim or a Malay, very quick to respond. If it's a non-Malay doing the insults, not very quick to respond. This kind of thing is still being marketed or being explained or being thrown about. So with that, I would like to say that the incident, I'm not surprised at all, because we have had worse incidents, and it will continue, and it will continue, it will get worse and worse until somebody dies from this. Then only what the Malaysia sudah terhantuk baru nak tertenggadah. Unless we are going to wait for a house of worship to be burned, which has happened before, without any loss of life. But then it can happen, and it will probably happen, in all probability will happen, if this kind of not silence perpetuated by those who are supposed to be the advisors of religion. And in politics, if we are still supporting this kind of people under the guise of Islam or under the guise of religion, then again, we will not see a peaceful and harmonious country that is our beloved Malaysia.